I have never seen a car pushed as hard and it still comes back for more.
Let me preface this by saying, an uglier four-wheel drive, you're going to be hard-pressed to find.
For under 10 grand, this one is going to come as no surprise. In fact, I like this engine so much, mate, that I'm putting it in my 1982 one.
It is the absolute all-round four-wheel drive for under $30,000. That's actually got me a little bit aroused. Is your four-wheel drive in there? You're going to have to wait to see. G'day, folks, and welcome to another BITS. Do you know what BITS stands for? That's exactly right. Beers in the Shed. And this week, something a little bit different. We've lost Sean. He's gone MIA. I've got no idea where the bloke is. So instead, we have turned to what I arguably say is a far better looking version, a far smarter version, an exceptionally stronger version. Jocko, how are you, my friend?
I am excited to be here and I'm excited to get into what we've got planned today because we've got a cracker of an episode coming up.
We do. Last time we did Beers in the Shed, Sean and I, we talked about the most underrated four-wheel drives out there, and my goodness, didn't it go nuts, mate?
Massive response, mate, massive. There was over 2,000 comments and we got a whole bunch of submissions from you guys. It'd be a good opportunity for us to expand on that a bit more. So we're going to be looking at the best buys you can get from those underrated four-wheel drives on the back of that for 10, 20 and 30 grand brackets.
You and I have got some fairly differing opinions when it comes to these vehicles, my friend. So I'm very keen.
We do.
And also, you folks at home obviously submitted a lot of ideas for the 10, 20 and 30K categories as well. And Jeepers, passionate. It's like a football supporter, mate.
Mate, there are some awesome four-wheel drives there and some ones that have come out of the woodwork that I didn't expect, and I'm pretty keen to get into it. But mate, before we do that, I would like to mention to the guys watching at home, if you love four-wheel drive 24/7 and you do want to support us, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a like as well. It means a lot and means we can keep doing cool videos. What do you reckon, mate? Let's get into it, eh?
Okay, when I was looking for a sub $10,000 car, I actually stuffed up, mate, and thought you told me sub $5,000 car. So, So when looking around, the one that kept coming up, everyone kept recommending it to me, was the Holden Jackaroo. Now, look, there's a lot of things that I did think were great value for money when it came to the Jackaroo. One, you can pick them up pretty darn cheap in this day and age. If you're going to go from the 1992 up to 2005 models, they came out with, of course, coils all round and they had a rear LSD. Couple of other little bits and pieces, mate. The body was actually made from galvanised sheeting, which means that they were very rust, prone to not getting a lot of rust in there. So if a Jackaroo is still getting around today, there's a good chance that body is going to be really, really solid. Now, I did say the 3-litre motor. You, however, have pointed out that thing has got quite a few niggles.
Yeah, so it was the 4J X1 diesel in the Jackaroo. You could get a petrol variant as well, and they still are out there, and I reckon they'd be good value for money as well. But there are a few known issues with that diesel engine. You can a quick Google online of a Holden Jackaroo diesel and you can find a few of those issues, like injector sleeves. They had some fueling issues. There are a couple of little niggling things. They are a good buy, mate, I think, like for the price bracket you're looking at.
For that price bracket, mate, I think they're not a bad way to go. Now, we got a comment here from Adrian Burnett who said the Jackaroo is so underrated they go cheap, and it got us up some of West Australia's hardest tracks. Of course they did, Adrian. He knows exactly what he's talking about, mate. What's your honourable mention, my friend?
Well, this one is probably going to come as no surprise. It's not a Toyota. I chose a TB42 GQ Patrol. Now, I think because people have started to cotton on that these are such a great buy, it is getting a bit harder to find them under 10 grand, but they still are out there. You had the Carby one and the EFI one. The EFI one's probably a little bit more. I have never seen a car pushed as hard as a GQ Patrol off-road and it still comes back for more. Like, it blows my mind as a first four-wheel drive, as you can turn them into super reliable cars. I mean, they already are reliable. They got strong everything. I reckon they're probably, in my opinion, and you're probably going to relish this, they're probably one of the best four-wheel drives you could get.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. I used to have a TB42 short wheelbase Patrol. It did like to drink. It was one of the thirstier four-wheel drives I've ever tow with it into a headwind. You could literally watch the fuel gauge start to go down. Now, Jocko, it's not all about what I think, mate. Our audience has got a whole heap of ideas of their own. Surely the most underrated four-wheel drive is the Suzuki Sierra Jimny. Tyres down to 8 PSI. Couldn't physically bog them on the sand. There's a lot of love out there for the Jimnys. I know Shauno's a massive Zook fan.
I think I've had some of the best fun in my life in a four-wheel drive in a Suzuki Sierra. That and the Pony are the two cars I've had the most fun with. I do think we need a Zook in our life too, mate. We need to find one to build up again.
Okay.
Because
Challenge
that's
accepted.
high on my list of priorities.
Now, mate, sticking with the sub 10, we'll just go into these very quickly. Andy Brown, he reckons Subarus of this era that are older and under 10K, in fact, under 5K, throw a few mods at them, and they're great little all-rounders. This one is very close to my heart, mate. Subaru Brumby. Jocko, when I was in university, that's right, I went to university for a little while, there was a mate of mine had a Subaru Brumby, and we used to be able to fit all of our surfboards in the back, our swags, and we used to be able to head up to Lancelin for the weekend. I freaking loved that old ute, and I reckon
that's unreal.
If I could find a Brumby these days that was in good condition, that could be a little project car for me, because those things, it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is. What is your top pick?
For under 10 grand, this one is again going to come as no surprise. It is a Hilux, but it's not a Hilux you'd expect. I'm looking at the RZN series of Hilux. So around 1998, you had a couple of different variants of engine in Hiluxes, and one of them was the 3RZ. It's a 2.7 litre petrol.
Right.
And I think they are a awesome four-wheel drive to look at, because you had the strong Hilux driveline of that era. There are some absolute bargains out there. And the good thing is, mate, the 3RZ, you could get it in the two-wheel drive Hilux, you could get it in the High Ace. It came out in lots of different cars, which means parts are readily available. You can find spares everywhere. They're cheap to run-ish. They make pretty good power as well. And, you know, you've got the strong Hilux thing, everything behind it, strong Hilux driveline and stuff like that, within reason, obviously. Once you overload them and beat on them pretty hard, they do start to break. Ask me how I know. If you're looking to get into a Hilux, the 3RZ, 2.7 litre petrol is a ripper of one. In fact, I like this engine so much, mate, that I'm putting it in my 1982 one. There are a few people starting to put some forced induction into 3RZs, and they can make disgusting power. Something to keep in mind on that is a lot of these, because they weren't as expensive as the diesel variants, a lot of them were tradie cars and stuff like that. So there is something to keep in mind. If you're looking at that model Hilux, make sure it's been well maintained and hasn't been absolutely flogged.
Folks at home, Hilux owners, I can see you're all jumping up and down in front of the TV. You Hilux owners, you're very passionate, and I like it. But no, that's...
And there's probably equally amount of people sitting at home going, oh my God, Jock, stop mentioning bloody Hiluxes, move on.
When I was asked to go sub 10, I found this one to be a very, very tricky thing to put my moniker on and just go, this is it. This is the one I'm gonna suggest. But then it was actually a mate of mine I was chatting to the other morning, and he suggested, why don't you go with this? And we've mentioned it many a time. I know Sean's mentioned it before, and you just can't go past them, and that being the NM, or my choice, the NP Pajero, mate. When they were first released back in the day, they were pretty revolutionary. They came out with a monocoque body. We say that word a lot, but what does it mean? It basically, let's not go into too many nerdy details right now, but it basically means it gets most of its strength from the body. A good way to think of that, mate, is look at an egg. An egg gets all of its strength from its shell. It doesn't get it from anything internal. And that made that...
Interesting.
It made that car so much different to any other car on the market at the time. It just gave it this amazing amount of strength. When they were released, Jocko, they weren't really targeted at the hardcore four-wheel drive market. Now, doesn't mean they can't do it, but what it does mean is that models you're finding today haven't been owned by 17-year-olds trying to flog them up hills. So you're going to get pretty good condition NP Pajeros out there. They were pretty revolutionary. Like I say, they had two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive on the fly. They had traction control back in the day, which actually worked pretty well. The NP for me with a 3.2 litre turbo diesel was the pick of the bunch. If you have a look online at all the major manufacturers that do aftermarket accessories, I won't go into the names, but they all have mods still for the NP Pajero. And a big tip, mate, this was actually given to me by, again, a very passionate Pajero owner. He said the injector pumps go on high kilometre vehicles. So if you are looking at a second-hand one, try and find one where the owner has a receipt for having had that injector pump fixed, because it is actually quite an expensive fix. But if you can get into an NP Pajero for under 10K, I guarantee you, mate, that thing will take you just about anywhere.
Yeah, unreal, mate. I reckon Pajeros are some of the most underrated four-wheel drives on the market. What do you reckon we move up into the next bracket? And this is here,
20K.
Under 20K. I don't know about you, mate, but I had a hard time narrowing this down.
Yeah, 100%. Because under 20, you can get some really good, you've got to look. You've got to be one of those, you've got to be a Jesse Gleason where you're on Marketplace every single morning while you're having a coffee.
He
hustling. You've got to be hustling, but you can get some absolute crackers for $19,000, $18,000, $19,000, $20,000. I kind of took this one a bit more generic. You're not looking as hard as Jesse. You're just going to get that car out there that's coming in at around your 16, 17, 18, and you're getting them all day, every day. And my choice for a honourable mention, mate, this one is going to raise a few eyebrows, and there's going to be a lot of people out there that haven't even heard of it. But the Hyundai Terracan. Let me preface this by saying, an uglier four-wheel drive, you're going to be hard-pressed to find.
Oh, so suit you then, mate.
She certainly was no oil painting, just like me, mate, but reliable to a fault. It was never hugely adopted in Australia. You didn't see a whole heap of them out there, and they were never in the hardcore scene. These are definitely your towing and touring four-wheel drives. They came out with a 2.9 litre turbo diesel. You can get a big petrol model. They were a great towing four-wheel drive due to that engine and auto combo. What you want to be doing is looking for post-2005 models, because the ones before that had a few little niggles with their suspension setups. Post-2005, Hyundai actually addressed that and got significantly better suspension. Mm-hmm. But, mate, for $16,000, $17,000, if you can handle the look of them, they will take you anywhere in Australia.
Well, mate, I can honestly say I was not expecting that to be your choice, but you've raised some good points. Maybe there are some people watching right now who have one of these, and if you do, let us know. Let us know what your thoughts are, and if you rate it as a four-wheel drive, so I can be more convinced on Graham's word. What's
your honourable mention for under 20K, mate? It's a big ask.
It really is a big ask, but look, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record. It's not a Hilux, but a Land Cruiser Prado, mate, and more specifically the 90 Series Prado, the Mighty 90. These were a cracker of a four-wheel drive, and you had a couple of different engine variants. You had, again, that 2.7 litre petrol I was raving about in the Hilux. You also had the 3.4 litre V6, the 5VZ, and you could also get it with the 1KZ, which was a four-cylinder turbo diesel. So you had a couple of different engine options. And the other good thing about it, mate, is a lot of people use these for around town, picking up the kids from school as like a family size four-wheel drive that could do a lot of running around. So there are a lot of variations of the Prado out there that haven't seen a lot of tough off-road work. And they're a good size for around town as a daily driver, but still can hold their own on the tracks. I mean, they had independent front suspension, they had coil-sprung rear, they were nice and comfy. You can get them with two tanks. The 1KZ variant actually came out with an auto in the Prado. You couldn't get an auto 1KZ in the Hilux, but you could get it in the Prado. So a little bit more comfort with a four-cylinder diesel, mate. That's a little thing I like. I've always wanted to find one and just drive it around because I reckon that'd be cool. Carlos Gramps, he's even said around 20K possibly we'll get you a unique off-roader, a 90 Series Prado Shorty, mate. And I reckon this car looks pretty darn cool.
Look at that.
It's cool. It's different. And then he said, you can get them relatively stock for that price, but the Australian delivered long wheelbase being able to use is still fairly cheap and very capable.
That's actually got me a little bit aroused. That thing looks, that is a good looking four-wheel drive in my humble opinion. I like all things short.
Yeah, I do. And I mean, it doesn't take much to get you aroused, mate. So.
Under 20K, we had so many people chiming in with their ideas. Like I say, it's a very popular price bracket because it's one that most of us can get into.
I never thought I would be saying these words, mate, an 80 Series being good value for money. But Ashton Mercer and Connor Chapman have sent in some cracker variations of their 80 Series. Ashton said he got a 9280 1.8Z non-turbo for around 15 grand. I reckon that's for an 80 Series, mate. It's still a lot, really, for an 80.
It is for an 80, but
what you get, they're, again, up there with the GQ as one of the best four-wheel drives ever made. Obviously, there are some out there as well that are ludicrously priced. But speaking of that, mate, Casey Hart has sent in his 105 Series. So I reckon these would be a ripper choice as well, because they didn't quite get the clout that the 80 Series had, but they're still a weapon of a four-wheel drive. Same powertrain, pretty much same chassis, same disc and stuff, but they were also a much wider cab than the 80 Series as well. So on some of the tougher tracks, that is something to keep in mind if you are wheeling these hard.
Push came to shove, I've changed my mind twice when it comes to giving my advice for best four-wheel drive under 20K. I don't think you knew that I was going to say this one. I think you thought I was going to say another very similar four-wheel drive. I've gone with the Holden Colorado, mate, and I think you're going to find it hard to prove me wrong on this one. For under $20,000, not only do they look good, they have got a driveline and an engine combination that are steeped in history. They share it with another very, very common and very, very popular four-wheel drive, except you're not paying for that price. You're not paying for that badge on the front. With the old Holden Colorado, you're getting a Holden. People don't really associate it, with a four-wheel drive. So thus, it brings that price back down for a four-wheel drive that is still associated with extremely good tech.
So you're talking about the earlier Colorado, yeah? The one with the 4JJ1
The earlier ones, mate, not 100%, not the newer ones, because you're not going to get them for under 20K.
No, so I would wholeheartedly agree with you. They are a cracking option because, they had the 4JJ1, the Isuzu engine, which was in the D-Max, as you mentioned.
You can't kill that. You cannot kill that engine.
Absolute weapon. They make good power. In fact, my good mate Tommy at Performance Tourers, he's getting like 350 horsepower out of. He's got a test one, a Colorado that he uses for testing all his tunes and things. He's got like 350 horsepower out of it. Insane. I would mention two things about them though, mate. They were torsion bar IFS.
That's
which
correct.
is something to keep in mind. And the other thing too is the rear diff, they were spring under. So what I mean by that is the leaf springs, like on a 79 series Land Cruiser, they come underneath the axle tubes, which is good for load carrying, but it did mean some clearance issues if you're wheeling it off-road. So it's something to keep in mind. Something people do spring over conversions. But yeah, it's obviously going to lift a vehicle up a lot more when you do that. So the suspension obviously is something to keep in mind, but mate, I couldn't agree more with the choice of four-wheel drive for under 20 grand. I reckon that would be a cracker of a buy.
That, my friend, is my choice, mate. That is my choice.
Well, mate, my one has come up again, and no surprises here. I've chosen for the best four-wheel drive under 20 grand. My honourable mention was the 90 Series Prado, but the one I reckon is the one to go for is the NT or NS Pajero. Once again, the Pajero has come through. Mate, some of these ones that are coming through, Ben Rossi said he picked one up for 17 grand, wait for this, with a camper included, ready to go for the Cape in August. It's a 2006 Pajero and MDC camper for 17 grand. Right. Even Johnny Stokes for around 20K, you can't go past the NT Pajero. Value for money, family tourer, twin locked, it goes everywhere.
They're a good looking car too, in my opinion.
They are, mate. They were reliable, they were comfy. Again, with the earlier model Pajeros, like you were mentioning, a lot of them, they were, I guess, more targeted at a bit more of the soft roader and, you know, picking the kids up from school and sort of stuff.
That's right.
There were a lot out there that are unmodified that are pretty clean. The engines in them they shared with the Triton as well. Did have as I understand it, did have a few issues with the exhaust gas recirculation system and clogging up the intake. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, making sure that it's well maintained and you keep that intake clean. But mate, Pajeros, once again, coming through as some of the best value for money four-wheel drives you could buy, kind of makes me want a Pajero. I reckon it'd be like driving a lounge chair to work.
I think just about everyone out there knows that Beers in the Shed is a place to go to get absolute bargains and all the good gear for your four-wheel drive. Now, they don't get much better than this because our mates over at Fulcrum have got what they call May Mayhem, which you can save up to 30% off a whole stack of different suspension components. I'm talking about, you know, Formula 4x4 lift kits, leaf springs, control arms, airbags, so many different products. So if you're looking to give your rig a bit of a birthday, which it probably needs, do yourself a favour and act real quick because the offer ends midnight the 26th. So that's not long now, less than 24 hours. Do yourself a favour, jump on the website now and take advantage of that one.
Folks at home, under 20K, there'll be a lot of you out there driving this category, this subcategory of under 20K. Let us know in the comments down below, what have we missed? What have we overlooked? What is your pick as the best four-wheel drive for under 20K? Because right now, mate, I suggest we get into the big boy bracket, under 30,000. You're doing well at work, you've treated yourself, you've gone up and got yourself a $28,000 four-wheel drive. Pains me to do this in a lot of respects, but not only do I think this is one of the single best four-wheel drives ever made, but I had to put two in here because they kind of go together. And as Mookie Osborne said, who wrote into us, this is his words verbatim. The best car under 10K, a 10K GQ. The best car under 20K, a 20K GQ. The best car under 30K, a 30K GQ. Mookie, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. So I'm going to put my honourable mention in as, just hang on a second here, Jocko, a TD42 GQ or a TD42 GU. I know I'm putting two in there, but they are both keeping a weird price point at the moment. They are both super popular, and you're going to find the same car in this price bracket. The biggest problem you're going to have, especially with your GQs and your GUs, is that they're going to have been previously owned by a 17-year-old who's put a big old Chinese turbo on the side in 37s and wondering why they overheated. Don't buy that one. You're going to have to watch for rust, especially in the earlier models, when they're in the roof corner, in the firewall, they're in the rear window sills. However, Jocko, if you can find that unicorn that hasn't been modified to within the ends of the earth, hasn't been bolted on big turbos, hasn't been used as a weekend warrior vehicle, you're getting that venerable TD42 engine that will go forever. Tough as nails driveline, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to say it is not one of Australia's better four-wheel drives. So my honourable mention is either a TD42 GQ or a TD42 GU Patrol. Of course, the GU is a little bit fancier. The later models had a little bit more fruit on them.
Mate, whilst I agree that is probably one of the best four-wheel drives ever made, I just find it absolutely ludicrous that these cars are still around the 30 grand mark. It is obscene. I personally don't think I could do it. I'd much rather go for the $10,000 TB42 and have just as much fun. But to each their own.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you want to use it for. The TB is going to be a dog of a touring rig, whereas if you can get yourself an old TD 42 that's got low kilometres, that thing is going to tour for the, it's going to go around Australia day after day after day and not cost you that much in fuel. So what is your honourable mention,
Mate,
my friend?
It is an MQ Triton. I decided to go to the other end of the spectrum. I have always been vocal about how good value for money the Triton is. One of my close mates, Alex, just bought an MQ Triton. He paid 25 grand for it, and it is absolutely clean as a whistle. I just love the fact, mate, that you can buy a car that's around 7 years old and you can find them for under 30 grand. I reckon they're a great option. 2.4 litre diesel. But if you don't want to go for that one, if you can't find one that's in that under 30 grand budget, there are some more premium ones that are a bit over. If not, you can go for the ML or the MN Triton, the earlier models, mate, absolute weapons, and you can get them from a range from that 20 grand bracket we're talking about up to the 30 grand bracket, depending on, kilometres and modifications and stuff like that.
They're a super popular tradie commercial type vehicle as well, mate, so you will get them with some mods put on there, especially ones that have got load carrying capacities. You'll get trays, you'll get all sorts of things on them when you buy them, so you're adding value as well. Just watch those kilometres, I think, because a lot of those cars will have been used, for a lot of daily commuting back and forth from work sites, mine sites, etc.
Big time. And the later ones obviously did have DPFs in them, and stop-start city traffic isn't the best for a DPF, so that's something to keep in mind. You wouldn't want that failing if it hasn't done any long, hard drives, burn everything off. So that's something to keep in mind. I am not the only one who thinks the Triton is a cracking buy. We've got
No, you are not.
Glenn Gessiman. He has an ML Triton, 3.2 litre turbo diesel, 140,000 kilometres. And he paid, am I reading that right? $8,800. Surely that's not right. And then his old man's one, the white far left one, 250,000 Ks for $5 grand. What?
I mean, for crying out loud. That's, yes. Well, okay, if you're getting that in those sort of categories, then you're certainly going to get yourself an absolute cracker at under 30 for sure.
Definitely. You could buy one with all the fruit.
100%, mate. Now, we got... Again, this was a very broad category, under 30. There's so many different vehicles out there, but this one popped up a number of times, mate, and I love them. I think I would own one of these. I think they look sick. I think they're reliable, and that's the old 75.
Yep.
I bought this for under 30K. Spent a bit for a used setup that works for me on mods. You're going to have to. It's got no turbo, no computer stuff, simple and slow, but it's reliable as, a lot like you, Jocko. I've had some awesome adventures, including the old tally for my 60th. Cameron Wood, 75 series also, picked up for under 10K. You get a good one for 25.
Yep.
Agreed.
Unreal. And it looks good with the tub too, mate. Looks great with the tub.
Matthew Wiley, I mean, I'm surprised this one hasn't come up more. The old 1HZ Troopy, he picked up his for around the 20-ish mark. So, you can get one with a lot more fruit on it for closer to your 30 mark. They are a popular beastie, the old Troopy, mate. They really are.
One thing
Best
on that.
Four-wheel drives for under 30.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would mention one thing on that real quickly. What he mentioned there as a good beach rig, if you are looking at a Troopy, check for rust, because a lot of them have been used for super touring around the country and been taken on beaches and things like that, and they do like to get a bit of rust. So keep that in mind. But definitely that one looks clean as a whistle, mate.
It does, mate. Another thing just to be very careful of, mate, is when you're driving it, in traffic where you stop-start, you just want to watch that the dream catcher that's hanging off the rearview mirror doesn't hit you in the forehead. Just keep an eye on that one, mate, because that is it's a real problem.
Or your ukulele doesn't come off the centre console and hit you.
Exactly. Your knitted beanie, you don't want that one to get in the way.
And, mate, speaking of it, time to come to your pick for the best four-wheel drive under 30 grand. What is it?
Again, mate, struggled. I came back and forth with multiple different options. What I really wanted to put in here, I'm not going to lie, mate, what I really wanted to put in here was a Series 1 late in the year Y62 Patrol, but I couldn't find anything for this kind of money. So I've gone the next best thing, mate. A TB48 Patrol. Hear me out. It is starting to get extremely hard to find a TB48 for under $30,000. I believe the reason for that is that so many people are cottoning on to just how good these vehicles are. That engine is utterly bomb-proof. It'll blow the doors off anything else in the same class. It tows like a champion and will do so for virtually an unlimited number of kilometres. Let's go to the Middle East for just 1 second. The guys over there are putting turbos on these things and getting incredible horsepower out of them. The driveline is stronger than the engine. It'll handle everything that you throw at it. Can be modified via any of the big name companies out there at the moment to turn it into either a tow rig, a touring rig, an off-road weekend warrior, or a tough truck competition rig. It is the absolute all-round four-wheel drive for under $30,000. I'm dropping the mic.
I agree, the TB48 is a ripper of a four-wheel drive to buy, and Jesse told me this, they actually had bigger brakes on the TB48, I think it was too, so a lot of people like to find them and put them on their other cars. I still find it obscene that under 30 grand, when did do you know when they stopped making the TB48?
Oh, look, here's my answer to that. They should never have.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, mate, I don't think you're the only one who thinks that this is a good value for money buy, and at least you're not singing the TD42's praises again, because they are ridiculous.
Couldn't agree more. And look, it was a hard one for me to say too, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be vocal saying, Graham, what are you thinking when you say a TB? But mate, there are guys out there that agree. Jay, for example, had the TB48. He's glad the TB48 is getting some recognition. He picked up his Series 4 for $15,000. Car's got 370,000 on the kilometres on it. It's had less problems than his FG XR6 Turbo. It's an absolute reliable weapon. Honestly, do some research, have a look at one. For under 30K, you're not going to go wrong. Now, I know you're going to be a little bit more sensible. What is your pick for under 30K, mate?
This is speaking from personal experience, because I bought this car for under 30 grand and I thought it was a good buy. So that's why I thought I'd like to put it in. And it's the N70 Hilux sitting right behind me. So I know what you're thinking. Oh my goodness, shut up about Hiluxes. But mate, the N70 is, that they are still, a lot of them out there are still ridiculously overpriced for a vehicle that hasn't been made since 2015. But there are some that are coming down into that 20 to 30 bracket, and you get yourself a ripper of a four-wheel drive. I'll give you an example with the one behind me, mate. I paid around 26 grand from memory. I was the second owner. It had 160,000 Ks on the clock, and it was clean as a whistle. It's the cleanest four-wheel drive or cleanest car that I've ever bought, and it's an absolute weapon. Strong driveline, lots of aftermarket accessories, parts are easy to find. I mean, mate, the rear diff centers in Hiluxes, they were the same from like 1989 to 2010 or so. You could pretty much swap them in and out. Obviously the ratios are different, but parts are interchangeable. They're very modifiable, parts are everywhere. Look for a later Model 1 if you can. The earlier ones with the 1KD did have a few injection issues and stuff, and they seem to kind of get a bit better later on. But if you can find one, that's relatively clean like I did, I reckon they're a cracker of a buy, mate.
I reckon there's going to be a lot of people jumping up and down in front of the TV right now, throwing empty stubby cans at it, going, no, why didn't you mention XYZ? There is one bloke, though, that we haven't heard from. He's gone MIA.
Yes, he has indeed, Mr. Sean Whale, and mate, he has an absolute cracking giveaway for the folks watching at home, mate. So how about we hear from him?
Well, boys, wish I could have joined you for this one. I'll tell you what, best bang for buck rigs. No doubt those guys wouldn't have mentioned half the ones I would have. I'll tell you what, if it was a Toyota, you'd be on the right track. Now, it's competition time. I've got a wicked competition for you guys as well. Now, I'm giving away a set of brand new Steady Type X Evos. So one flood, one spot, and all you have to do to win is comment below and try and convince us why your rig is the best bang for buck four-wheel drive out there. The best comment is going to win a set of those awesome lights, so good luck.
Well, if it wasn't reason enough to let us know what you reckon the best value for money four-wheel drive is, that prize from Sean will be an absolute ripper on the front of your four-wheel drive. So get commenting below, let us know, and remember to turn your notifications on so that you can find out if you are the lucky winner of that unreal prize that Sean's just announced, mate. Well, what do you reckon we crack on? Moving on, now is the part of the show which I love the most, mate. The part where we get to share our obsession with four-wheel driving with you guys, and of course, hear from you guys at home in what you're getting up to out on the tracks and in the shed, mate.
Absolutely.
And what do you reckon first up we get to one of the most intense and sometimes funny parts of the show, fails.
Fails, mate. Everyone's done it. I've done it many a time. You're pretty good at it, and it seems our audience are good at it too.
This one is from TikTok from Vic Four Drive Touring. They're a Vic-based four drive group, Ben, Luke, Theon and Jess. And mate, by all accounts, that looks like a slippery heck of a hill climb in a Navara, but I was actually so worried he was gonna roll.
I don't like seeing that. That gives me the old wiggly leg. I don't.
The heebie-jeebies.
The heebie-jeebies.
But, I'm glad they didn't bin it, mate. Looks like they slid off the track and hopefully not too much damage.
I think there's a tree there that is their best friend, mate. I need you to help me with this one. What on earth is going on here? This is off Instagram. Andrew sent it in. Comical at best.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, mate, but that Hilux has left the ground.
I don't know what he was doing there.
He comes down hard as well.
Yeah.
That is insane. Jeez, I hope he didn't do any damage to his... It looks like tail shaft territory when he lands on that pipe at the end there. And mate, we've got this next one. This is from Instagram, from Faliaga Young Yen. It looks international. I'm going to say it looks international, but either way, mate.
That's it.
That is... Oh, it rolls off the side. You could kind of see that was going to happen, couldn't you? That's a shame.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, that was almost a foregone conclusion, wasn't it?
There's a bloke watching who looks pretty comfy with it.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He doesn't seem to be too concerned at all. Just, yeah, that happens every day. Whatever. We've got Steve here with not so much a fail, but more of a help. We've got, well, this is quite the train on what looks to me to be pretty flat ground. But you know, sometimes in that boggy country where you get that topsoil that's just so slippery, we've got Toyota with camper trailer pulling, what is that? Another Toyota pulling a bus, pulling a truck.
Bus, yeah.
Wow. That's pretty next level, and there's a good ad for Toyotas right there, mate.
12 cylinders of tickled Toyota Fury pulling those buses out of the bog, so that's pretty cool. Mate, this next one from TikTok, from Blu-ray87, and this would definitely make you scream, Graham, I reckon, with a poor GQ Patrol sitting that deep in the water.
Look at that.
That's a bum. Looks like a crossing gone wrong,
really
maybe.
Does. Geez, you got to be careful, don't you?
Looks like he's... Yeah, that water looks quite deep, and that is a shame. There's even some coming through the window. His snorkel's not underwater, though, so
engine's still
hopefully
good.
they're able to get the vehicle back.
Engine's still good, but gee whiz, you'd want to be washing that upholstery for more than one reason, I reckon there, mate.
Big time, big time.
We've got a $100 Snatch gift voucher to give to the biggest fail there, mate. I've got an idea of what I want to give it to, but let's see if we concur. Who do you think?
Well, mate, I think the easy one for me is from Vic 4Drive Touring, because that Navara looks like it survived what could have been a very nasty rollover, but they might need some new Snatch clothes, mate, to wear after they had to change their pants. So
couldn't agree more, mate.
That would be my pick.
Being in Victoria, they can get themselves a nice pair of trackies and a hoodie to replace the ones that they soiled on that downward descent, mate, because I reckon they will need it. Mate, do you enjoy looking at rigs?
I do, mate. I love a rig. I love looking at a good rig.
From Facebook, we've got Jets, Project Luxy, Settle Down Jocko.
Now we're talking.
Look at this bad boy right here. It looks like he's done all the work himself too. He's even underneath it doing a bit of hardcore welding by the look of that. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing there.
Yeah, it looks like...
You'd know more. I
would hazard a guess at he's probably putting on a fish plate or crush tubes for the steering box. See those 4 holes there where his welder's pointing? I'd imagine that would be where his steering box mounts. And he's probably plating the inside of the chassis there for the crush tubes. I mean, I could be wrong. And Jet, if you're watching, mate, if I am wrong, I apologise. But look, that looks like a proper good go, mate. He's having a crack, and he's lying on the grass as well. What a weapon.
Yeah, there's no workshops going on there, mate. Out in the dirt.
Mate, this next one, this looks like a vehicle from overseas, from Instagram, Kumano Prado.
Jeepers creepers.
And that looks like a tough beast of a four-wheel drive. There's a lot bolted on there, but that's pretty cool.
There is a lot going on there, mate.
And looks like it's been Raptor coated or something.
I thought that when I first saw it. Yeah. It's there is a lot going on. Landing lights, spotlights. There's all sorts of things. If a machine gun came up out of that roof, it would not surprise me.
You wouldn't be surprised.
No.
You want more lights? Just ask.
Exactly.
We've got heaps of lights.
Let's go to the UK for a second, mate, where Josh has been... just hang on a second. I just happened to look. He's taken the old gas axe to the top of the car and made himself a pop-up rooftopy tent looking type thing.
That's so cool.
That is
so cool.
I mean, for goodness sake, one heck of a thing.
And mate, what I like about this is the way he found out about us was when he was over in Australia travelling around a few years ago, and then that got him onto us, and he's been living the off-road life in the UK ever since. It looks mighty cold wherever he's camping there.
It does look mighty cold,
unreal.
but what a modification. I've never seen anything quite like it. That's hats off to you, Josh, if I'm ever in the UK.
Good on you, Josh.
I'd like to check
That's
that
awesome.
out.
And mate, this next one, again from Instagram. Now, I actually follow this full drive on Instagram myself, so
there you go.
I've been frothing on the build. 17 D-Max, mate. It's solid axle swapped, and it's got a coilover rear suspension set up as well. This thing is a beast.
I mean, that's a dream rig, if you ask me. He's got canopy dog boxes on the back. Looks like it flexes better than a sick giraffe. Honestly, testament to him, mate. That is a cracker.
That is a beast of a four drive, and it will go anywhere. As we know with our D-Maxes, we've pointed them in some pretty wild places, but that one looks like it would be next level.
She's pretty next level, isn't she? Well, mate, there can only be one winner, and again, it's a Snatch voucher, $100. I'm going to give you the honour today, mate. Given that you are the rig frother, I'm going to give you the honour, mate.
Mate, I think it's going to go to the first one for Jet with his Project Luxy. And the reason for that is not only it's a Hilux, I'm sure there was no surprises there, but I just love the fact that this next photo, he's lying on the grass, welding getting it done. Looks like he's done a backyard solid axle swap, and mate, I take my hat off to you, because that's not an easy job to do, and the fact you're lying on the grass while you do it, that deserves a snatch voucher, I reckon, mate.
Get yourself a clean top to wear when you go out to the pub, mate, because I reckon the ones you've got will be dirty, just like Jocko's, mate. Everyone wins when it comes to beers in the shed. How do you do it? Well, of course, you use the hashtags. We've got Full Drive 24/7 rigs, or, of course, fails on Insta, TikTok, or our official Facebook group.
Well, mate, that just about rounds out this episode of Beers in the Shed. But don't forget, if you like what you saw, get in touch with us. If you've got some wins, some fails, some cool four drive builds you want to show us, get in the comments, get onto those social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it, mate.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of ways to get in touch with us and share your love of four driving. But just before we go, mate, we have some awesome stuff coming up. What have you been up to?
Don't we just, mate? I've just got home actually from a huge off-grid episode, gone right up through the Udnadatta, just on the edge of the Simpson Desert, and then taken the vehicle all the way up towards Darwin, where we are kicking off the next leg. I won't go into that just yet. Sean and Jesse, of course, have just come back from a very, very wet Cape York. And you and I, mate.
That sounded epic.
It did sound epic. You and I, we are, 5 or 6 days away from heading off. Where are we going? Should we let the cat out of the bag?
Mate, I think we can. We are going to the Simpson Desert, and I cannot wait. I've packed my bag, all ready to go. I'm leaving in a couple of days. I'll be heading from Brizzy and driving out to meet up with you guys in Alice Springs, mate. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm super keen to get into that trip. It's going to be a cracker.
Mate, me too. I haven't seen you in a long time. I think it's going to be a bad night to be a beer in Alice Springs when you and I meet up. For now, though, Jocko, mate, let's call it done and dusted for this Beers in the Shed. Folks, thanks very much for watching, and Jocko, I will catch you very soon in the dead centre of Australia, my friend.
Mate, it's been a privilege, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Cheers.